Good evening and welcome to the special Town Board Legislative meeting for Wednesday, March 27th. I'd like to call us to order, and I will call the order. Councilman Akinen?
Here.
Councilman Cole?
Here.
Councilwoman Lee?
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Drawe is here. At this time, I would like to ask, I'd like to move us into executive session. I would like a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Cole, seconded by?
And I'll second that. Thank you.
Councilperson Lee. At 6:01, we're going to move to executive session.
And if we can also note that this is an executive session to interview a, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. That this is an executive session to interview a prospective candidate for a town appointed committee. Thank you. I'd like to call us back into order after executive session at 6:29. Will the clerk now please formally call the roll? Thank you.
Drawe.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Akinen.
Here.
Four. Okay.
Thank you. So if you'd like to stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And Mr. Murphy's here. Maybe he would like to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Communications and Announcements Board, do we have any tonight? I don't think, seeing none? Okay. We're going to move right into public participation. I think I see one person that would like to come forward. He made it all the way here in this weather, so we hope we don't lose power here. So give your coming.
Winter to be over.
If you'd like to, Tim, tell us your.
Yep. Yes. Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive. The reason why I'm here tonight is to represent the advocacy group Friends of Shadow Pines, as well as myself. I had 4 specific things I wanted to talk about, mostly related to the workings of municipal government. I've sent a couple of correspondence over the last few weeks, and that's part of the conversation. So if I could jump right in, and if you excuse me, I'm going to just read from my notes so I can stay on point here.
That's fine.
So Friends of Shadow Pines, we talk regularly, we meet regularly, we care about what's going on in the town, Shadow Pines in particular, and we authored 6 questions back on February 25th. And it was really about, we know where we are, but how could we get to a future state? So I'm not going to really go through them in detail, but I just wanted to make sure we understand, go on the record, and also if there's a path forward, if you could share what that is, please. So the first one was just how much bonding is being retired this year and next, and Supervisor, you answered that.
Thank you.
$95K this year and none next year. What is the current level of the town's fund balances? And I mean, some of us watched the Bonadillo group's presentation last week, and thank you for the transparency. I mean, they talked to the balance sheets, where all the money was. There was enough detail there to say, wow, the town does have some funds, some wherewithal to do some things. Some of it is earmarked. I won't pretend I know everything about restricted funds versus unrestricted funds and, what accounts and buckets things are in. But, if I add it up, we've saved some money and we have some money available. So, I think that's important for the town to know, the wider audience, especially with some of these bigger projects that could hit the beach pretty soon. So I'm not going to go into detail, but first, again, thank you for the transparency on that. I think that was really important. I do wonder one thing is, where are we relative to any best practices that New York State has in terms of how much money you carry year to year? Because again, that's quite a bit on a $20-something million annual operating budget. So I'm not questioning that so much, but you should anticipate that. I mean, that's out there, and there's smarter people than me that, may pick up on, what does that mean? And you may have to just say, hey, we've been saving for the new DPW barn, and then whatever conversation that happens around that. The third thing was around the ARPA funding. I mean, it's the way I understand it is mostly a windfall, right? It's a one-time or two-time payment by the federal government through the state government to help with the sales tax loss revenue. And if I do the math right, it sounds like there's almost $6 million. 4.2 plus 1.9, I sort of get that right? Mm-hmm. And if I listen to the conversations right also, it seems like about half of it is earmarked. The LED street lamps, the Four Corners rejuvenation, and then, the pickleball hasn't gone out to bid, and we know that's a whole different conversation, and you're waiting, like the rest of us, to like, how much is that really going to cost? And I'm not going to go deep into that conversation. I will say just within the Friends of Shadow Pines, we all have an opinion, and some are stronger than others, and I'm not going to go there. I mean, we've kind of looked to Jim Frome, as you know, to lead that charge. But come back to the point was about $6 million in this windfall, about half of it is, I'm going to say available, and then correct me if I'm wrong, but, that's a one-time amount of money that we have to figure out what's going to happen to it. So, I'm leading to the point where, I'd love to see, I think, and the town would like to see, some type of consolidated view of what the potential projects are, and what the potential funding is. And again, I sent you just, an old retired guy's version of, how I would look at it. Mm-hmm. But, project description, purpose, you got to stack rank things because you can't do everything. And then what are the financials and timing of things? So I personally have an expectation around it, the Friends of Shadow Pines. When we talk about, how might things get done, it always comes back to money. And honestly, one of the things that's come up multiple times, and you folks can maybe help address, is, why do I want to volunteer to help with the Clark House and the barn if there's no money? The specific questions come up, is there any money in the 2023 budget? And other than just maintenance, the answer's been no, there isn't any money. Am I right or wrong?
Specifically for?
For the Clark House and the Clark barn. There's nothing earmarked, right, currently?
Currently, correct.
Okay, so again, I think it would be good for you folks, again, to kind of show the math. We do have some money. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to go to the Clark House and the Clark barn, but it may keep some people from participating or being interested, or, again, I saw the numbers from the engineering firm, and it blew me away, and my first thought is, well, is that a bond? Is that, where's the money going to come from? That's not kind of member item money isn't available anymore. We used to do things with money that came down the pike. But my point is that, it would be good if the town controller could put together like a comparison of potential capital projects with a statement around, the funding, what's been earmarked. Again, and if you could imagine it, like I can, the DPW, the Clark House, we heard about, the librarian asked for some money for remodeling. I'm sure you got a bunch of stuff that's in the queue, but what are those things? Okay. And then, my fifth and sixth point was, what's the decision criteria and justification for doing these things? And if we fall outside the bounds of, we don't have money, when do we, or how do we ask for more? Do we have to go to referendum for anything? Do we have to ask the voters for money? I mean, are you folks empowered to, float some bonds or request some bonds to get some money? How does that all work? I think many of us aren't totally clear on how that can happen. So again, that's just a recap of the note that we sent. And I think, again, the view is, or the deliverable would be, if you could put up a PowerPoint, Excel document and just say, here are all the projects that are in the queue. I'm sure, again, you're talking about which ones are higher priorities than others, and then to show the possible funding sources. I hope that's reasonable.
Okay. Thanks for those comments, Tim.
So that was from the Friends of Shadow Pines. The second one is, again, sort of related to that, but it was just an observation, and I'm going to say it's in the spirit of continuous improvement. You know, when I watched
It's what?
last
I'm sorry,
week...
I missed that. It's a what?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, I missed your last statement.
I'm sorry, I'll slow down. In the spirit of continuous improvement.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So I watched the librarian come to the podium here and talk to you folks last week about looking for some money for the Ruth Brayman room. Certainly worth doing. But just an observation was, didn't seem like the controller had already talked to her to prepare for the conversation. Seemed obvious that if you had a template that showed, you know, description, rationale, I mean, it would streamline things. And I know that's what you're looking to do, but also would help inform, you know, the community if you had a template with these kind of projects, and you can see, hey, $20,000 is coming from Summer Brook, $20,000 is coming from their fund, and she's asking you for $20,000. I mean, again, that just shines the light on the project and, you know, what it's going to take to get there.
Okay.
So again, that's just my perspective on things, but as soon as I saw that, I'm like, geez, we could help ourselves by doing this a little bit differently. So again, the controller, you know, meeting with these folks before they get in front of you, having a template, and then showing that template of the project. Okay? Thank you. So the next one is from the Friends of Shadow Pines and myself, and it's regarding, you know, your decision to change your the number of monthly meetings. And it's actually generated quite a bit of conversation in the community. And first of all, there's been different threads of conversation. You know, I know Donna Spinella specifically asked Councilperson Ockenden, and he gave a fabulous answer. But I didn't read it to this weekend, and that was before he put this together.
Okay.
But with that said, I think that kind of explanation also needs to be on the town website. And I think there's more to the conversation, too. It just, you know, I've been around a long time, and I've kind of seen how things work, at least in my opinion, and it seems like the town has a lot of big decisions coming up with all the development opportunities that are happening on 250, and, you know, people need to get in front of you. And, you know, you need to make decisions. And, you know, it could go many weeks before one meeting to the next. But I also see the other side of it. It's your opportunity to manage the intake of these kind of things. You know, there's staffing. I mean, there's people behind the scenes that we don't even recognize. I mean, I didn't even think about the fact that PCTV and the security folks, I mean, that's a handful of people that you got to pay to be here. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. You know, I was thinking more about, you know, what does it mean to the citizens, but that's part of it. But, you know, again, I think we would like, or we're owed a little better explanation of why you're doing it. And then suppose we do need to have, there's things that come up that do need a discussion. Who calls the meetings, and how does that all happen? I mean, can you be clear on what's on the other side of reducing the number of meetings from 4 to 2? You know, again, if there's a lot of conversation that's happening around 250, you know, I'm imagining, again, you know, it's not just, you know, public information meetings, but it's, you know, the engineering groups, you know, the developers, all those kind of things. So maybe that's the question, Deb. I mean, it's like, how in fact, if you are going to change it from 4 to 2, how does an additional meeting happen?
Mr. Murphy, can I ask for the revisions to the proposed rules and the rules of order for these meetings, were you able to review a copy of that, either in discussion or in preparing these notes tonight?
So I did get the rules of procedure. Amy sent it to me, and I did review it. I'm not going to say I read every detail. I read a couple of pages that, especially around public participation.
Okay. So I think it kind of laid out there the revisions, like, for example, tonight, the 29th, this was a special session that was called. It's not normally scheduled because it is the 5th Wednesday of the month, and then prior it would have just been 4 Wednesdays of the month. But where, like you said, if there is urgent business, and we had an accounting matter today that was urgent that we wanted to get for timing purposes, for audit purposes, so we then call a special session, and then, of course, department heads, seeing that there is a Wednesday that is added, then can add additional resolutions. So I think we were all comfortable that it's not necessarily trying to cut down on meetings to delay town work. I don't think we would conceive that if there was an urgent matter that it would be weeks before another another meeting. We would call a special legislative session as we did tonight. And I think the rules kind of laid out the process for that and the criteria and the timing. And it really does give the board, again, flexibility to then accommodate if there is urgent town business. It's not us trying to take 50% work cut.
Okay, so thank you for the explanation. And just, Councilwoman Lee, just an observation. I mean, you're very good at raising your hand and, recognizing the opportunity to add clarity and question to things, so we appreciate that. I mean, and I'm not just saying me, we've noticed that, again, sometimes you stop the conversation at the right place and say, help us with that, and that's a good thing.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. I was afraid you were saying, don't interrupt me. But I didn't want to break up your groove, but just something easy that I think we hear your concern, and the decision wasn't taken lightly. So we always do appreciate your cooperation or collaboration with us, I should say.
But it would be good if I think a better explanation of, again, why you made the decision, and then again, what the path forward looks like, especially, again,
Okay.
if there is a need to have a meeting, and again, I'm not just speaking for myself, but obviously, community members, the developers, all the special interests.
And as Councilwoman Lee did mention, in the rules of procedure, it specifically says that. The call to call an additional meeting like I called tonight, absolutely. We will
Okay.
continue to do that as needed. If needed, as needed, yes.
Okay.
Debbie, I wonder if it's helpful to at least take a pause, and I know that you had other thoughts prepared, because we did receive, not just from yourself, but other residents about just questions, and I think it would help at least communication if you wanted to make a...
And one of the things, and thank you, Councilwoman Lee, one of the things about this efficiency, to try to improve efficiency and streamline our processes, so we are constantly reviewing, and I made some bullet notes, points about this, and wanted to share this, and I was going to read this actually tonight, so as I'm reading it now, but we're reviewing how to be more efficient in amending our meeting schedule to help us be more effective with our resources, specifically like you had heard, with the additional use of PCTV time, security time, other staff time, so forth in the building. So, and for our financial resources, a schedule of 2 meetings per month we felt was it gave residents a chance to watch, attend, and by doing this change, you can still participate. You're still going to get a chance to email each and every one of us, call us anytime you want, which is, I feel that, we all, I think, are pretty responsive to the residents. And I know to you and I, we've had conversations as you have with the other board members. And then the public participation piece of it, it just goes, this is one piece of it, is having, it at a local meeting, again, doing it, through emails, at Wegmans. I mean, there's plenty of time to reach out to us. And I feel that that's something we're just trying to be more efficient and transparent with our time and with our treasure and resources here. So I think that I don't know if anybody else wanted to add anything, why we went to that. I know Councilwoman Lee, you said the same, some of the same points. That's pretty much it. The open.
I think you covered it in, I think it's really been helpful to hear the public participation at the start of the meeting, and kind of what we've noticed in having, particularly with a lot of the hearings or resolutions where there are so many persons interested, having it more at the front and then trying to receive as many at the beginning really helps us to pause and consider if there is a resolution that perhaps we need to take back and hold a vote. And we've done that a few times in the last 6 months, to table it so that we can then hear additional. It seems to be more beneficial at the beginning, and then public participation at the end of the evening didn't seem as widely taken advantage of. And so at least when we were collecting this data and then trying to review, that seemed to make the most sense for us to keep it at the beginning.
So we're.
No, and I just want to add that, consistent with my note was that, the work of the town board is going to continue, and there, in my opinion, there won't be any delay because of the change in schedule. We will add sessions where needed, as needed, and if it means we're here till 11 o'clock, then we're here till 11 o'clock. I mean, it's just I don't think we'll see a reduction in productivity and, keeping things moving forward is my expectations and goals, so.
I wish we could just pull up your email, whatever this fabulous response was, but I think when we had talked about it.
Thank you.
Mr. Murphy, you should have brought that along with your notes to read. But I think some of the other points that we talked about, you mentioned PCTV, but just so that everybody understands that these are also additional costs to the town. And security, for example, they are contracted in 4-hour blocks. And so when there were some meetings that were 20 minutes or less, or
Right.
essentially under an hour, it's not being billed per 12 minutes, or it's billed 4-hour chunks. And so we felt that it was overextending town resources. And for some of those lighter agenda meetings we had discussed, potentially we can combine some of these or try to, some items that require just an administrative review don't really benefit from a full board and calling out department heads and those sorts of things. We can move to other types of what are called consent agendas and review administratively and then approve administratively. So then we can cut down on costs and time spent by our department heads, PCTV, security, and so forth. But maybe, we should just publish your email on the
Yes.
town website.
We will
So thank you for that.
do an update.
Just kidding,
And I don't
just
make it
kidding,
make
Bob.
point counterpoint, but I will come back to you and just say, removing the public participation at the end of the meeting seems to me something you should reconsider. Because there's conversation that you folks have that the rest of us need to hear, and then there's no opportunity to come back to you.
Your point is taken. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Deb, sorry,
That's all right.
Madam Supervisor.
That's all right.
There aren't a lot of forums, even in this age of all the social media and stuff, but to really just say things in the light of day, that goes on record, that can get people's attention. And that's probably, for me personally, that was my biggest issue because, again, in this day and age, yeah, we can have a conversation at Wegmans, or I can send you an email. But that's not the same as, raising some points that probably other people may have considered, and, either they're too shy or they don't recognize it, and it never comes out. And I don't know, that's just my point of view. But again, I don't see the opportunities. You folks don't hold office hours anymore. There was a time, and I know there are a lot of times when people didn't show up, and you said, oh, I'm wasting my Saturday mornings. But again, there aren't a lot of opportunities to engage in a group, and I would like to have a clarification, too, about the question and answer part, because maybe you've cut us a lot of slack over the years, but, coming up and asking questions and at least getting some answers or inputs, is that a realistic expectation?
No, because often the questions aren't something you have right before you, and you have to do research and get back. So
Linda,
you want
I
to,
always submit my questions in advance. That's, and I recognize that. I can't,
but you get a response by email, so you don't need to have
what
it.
if other people want to see it? Is it on me then to distribute that information? I'm not comfortable putting it on social media. I was going to take Bob Ockenden's note and put it on Facebook. But seriously, what's the alternative?
Well-
I don't have a web page. I'm sorry, not a back and forth, but please consider that.
That's a fair point, and I know we're joking about Bob's email, but thank you for not publishing that. That wouldn't really be appropriate either. But I think that's a good takeaway that we can consider.
Yeah, I think you might miss something if you take away that second public participation. Because again, we could be sitting here and listening to something, and then, we can't talk about it again for weeks? In a forum that was meant to discuss that topic? Just consider that, please.
Okay.
You don't have to give me an answer.
Okay, thank you for that.
And so the last one, this is my pie in the sky, but man, I've been around long enough and I've seen the workings of government. And, I sent you some information, and other communities are starting to consider it, having a different business model to run the town like a business, And I'm not going to go through it, I'm just going to cheerlead for it, is that, looking down the road, there's so many day-to-day issues that you folks, rely on your staff. But, at the end of the day, who makes the decisions? wouldn't it be good to have somebody that had I'll say the tactical responsibilities, the day-to-day things, and then our elected officials maybe have the visionary strategic things, like a supervisor, on the same term as the town board, out there, cutting the ribbons and listening to, the will of the community, but somebody's sitting at the desk making sure the potholes get filled and the Little League fields get mowed and all those kind of things. And so, the International Council of the International City County Management Association has lots of information down there. And I looked, and in New York State, there hasn't been a lot down there. I think Geneva was one, and one of my neighbors was the city manager for Geneva. So I just think it has a place for it. And going down the road, there's the day-to-day workings of government, and then there's the things that try to look over the horizon and say, how do we affect the quality of life, and how do we make the world a better place? And, you guys are trying to do all of that. So I'll just say that's my input for, maybe something that, we could aspire to in the coming generation.
I think they're going to have to lobby for that change to change some of the municipal laws, because this town board is governed by statute. And you talk about certain decisions being left to the staff. There's certain things that I want to change, but I don't have the jurisdiction to change. So there are only a subset of decisions that come to the board for decision-making that we are authorized to make.
But you probably know better than I. There's the trivial many and the significant few. And the trivial many can get a lot of attention when the significant few do not. And again, you probably have a better view of that than I do, but I've seen enough of it. You can get dragged into how high somebody's fence is versus something else.
Oh, I think you're totally right, Mr. Murphy, and that's why we were trying to cut down on things coming before the board for efficiency. But in any case, thank you for braving the weather tonight.
That was just pretty telling, your statement there. I mean, I kind of get that. But, okay. So again, I'll just leave that at your doorstep and just say it's something that it's worthy of consideration.
And I have this, and I have the information from you, and I will take a look at it, Tim.
So Deb, one other thing, Madam Secretary.
That's all right. That's okay.
Well, my last thing here, I was going to say, but you brought up another point, is I know Jim Frome was in front of you recently.
He was.
And he had high expectations to have a conversation and get some answers. I hope he gives you the questions in writing as you led him to.
And he has.
Okay, good. Because we've tried to, make sure that, again, that's the modus operandi. We don't hit you cold. We've thought this through. We'll ask the questions. Just our expectation is at some point we'll get input and answers.
And his answers were returned to him. So,
okay.
Just so you know.
So he hasn't put it on his website, or so that's on us.
We're doing as we can get answers, and we'll
So, Madam
respond.
Supervisor, here's my last. We hope that you, acting supervisor, have it in you to finish your term.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening.
You have a nice
Thank
evening, too. Be careful. If
Yeah,
you're not
thank
gonna,
you for coming tonight.
Thank you very
Braving the
much,
weather
Tim.
as well. Drive
Yeah.
safely.
Yeah, you're the only, yeah.
Should I just stay?
You don't,
Might as well keep us
Don't feel-
company.
you don't feel like it. Thank you, Tim. Okay. That, I do not see any calls coming in or any emails as well. Dave, I don't see anything down there, or Brian, rather? Nothing on the phone, thank you. Okay, then we will go on to additions and deletions board. Any to our agenda?
I do not.
Seeing none. Next is the approval minutes. You have before you the February 15th minutes board.
Thank you.
Can I?
I'll second. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. Any petitions the board has received? Seeing none. Next order of business is resolutions by function. Will the clerk please call the first resolution? Thank you.
State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker review, and determination associated with the local law to amend Town Code Sections 250-5.12 and 250-2.2 mixed-use development.
So moved.
Second.
So whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield wishes to amend Section 255.12 and 252.2 of the Penfield Town zoning and land use to clarify regulations governing development in the mixed-use district and modify related definitions. The Penfield Town Board is best suited to act as lead agency within the meaning of the seeker and designated itself as lead agency pursuant to seeker. Whereas the town board has considered this action, reviewed the environmental assessment form. This was listed, classified as an unlisted action pursuant to the seeker, and we've thoroughly analyzed any relevant areas of environmental concern associated with this action and determined that no significant adverse environmental impacts will result from the foregoing action adopting this foregoing local law. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board makes a negative declaration for the purposes of seeker and authorizes me, the deputy supervisor, to sign Part 3 of the EAF, thus concluding its environmental review. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Adopt a local law to amend Town Code Sections 250-5.12 and 250-2.2 mixed-use development.
So moved.
Second.
And this is the companion to that previous. The town board has considered adopting a proposed local law to amend 250 of the Penfield Town Code zoning ordinance to revise the mixed-use development regulations contained in this section 255.12 and modify or add definitions contained in section 250-2.2. Terms defined are the proposed amendments include renaming the district to the mixed-use development, embedding into the district regulations the development requirements and design standards previously contained in the mixed-use design manual from 2017 document, defining the parameters for the planning board's discretion on requirements, reorganizing the regulations to improve clarity and understanding of review process, and modifying existing or adding new terms to define new terms defined to ensure clear understanding of its meaning. The town board conducted public hearings to receive comments on the proposed local law on December 7th of 2022 and February 22nd of 2023. So whereas the town board has acted as lead agency within the meaning of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is seeker, and we reviewed the action potential impacts and made a negative declaration which concluded seeker. So now therefore be it resolved and be it hereby enacted by the Town Board of the Town of Penfield, Local Law Number 4 of 2023, set forth in attached Schedule A. So be it further resolved, after its adoption by the Town Board, this local law shall take effect immediately upon its filing with the Office of the Secretary of the State of New York. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, a roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorizing use of state and local fiscal recovery funds, SLFRF, under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, for library project.
So moved.
Second.
So whereas the town of Penfield received a total of $3,825,732.08 under the American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds, known as ARPA. The town accepts the terms and conditions for expending and reporting the use of the said federal funds, and whereas the town board has spent several months reviewing types of projects eligible under this program, and we sought the advice and counsel of the town attorney and third-party auditor, and whereas the library director presented a renovation project of the Ruth Brayman Room located in the Penfield Public Library to the town board work session on March 22nd. So now therefore be it resolved that the town board is authorizing up to $26,000 from the town's ARPA funds for the renovation of the Ruth Brayman Room. Be it further resolved that this project will be completed in accordance with the town's procurement policies and all applicable federal and state regulations and guidelines. Thank you. Any discussion? Councilwoman Lee.
I didn't want to interrupt Mr. Murphy earlier, but I think he had referenced ARPA with these in his math. He had said 4.2 and 1.9 for approximate total of 6 million. Again, I didn't want to interrupt earlier because I wasn't sure where those numbers might have been drawn from, but I wanted to point out that it wasn't 6 million, that it's just under 4 million. Here, the number that you
Very good.
just read, the 3,825,732. So just under 4 million was the total of the ARPA funds. So
Correct, you are correct.
again, I hate to interrupt people, especially when they're trying to read and be composed from their notes, but I did want to at least correct that it's not 6 million.
Thank you. Any other? Roll call vote then?
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Approving an additional fee to the Town of Penfield 2023 fee schedule for the town clerk's office.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board is authorized to set and amend fees from time to time. New York State recently adopted legislation amending the domestic relations law to allow for one-day marriage officiant to solemnize marriages with an effective date of March 28th, 2023. Whereas assurance of the one-day marriage officiant license will be handled by all town clerks, subject to a $25 fee. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield makes the following addition to the town's clerk's fee schedule by adding a new fee for the one-day marriage officiant license of $25. Discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. State Environmental Quality Review Act review and determination associated with the granting of a grade and fill permit at 41 Woodhaven Drive.
So moved.
Second.
An application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a grade and fill permit to allow for grading of property at 41 Woodhaven Drive, located in the LaSalle's Landing Development LLD zoning district. The Penfield Town Board is best suited to act as lead agency within the meaning of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is seeker, and does hereby designate itself as lead agency pursuant to seeker. The subject application was classified as an unlisted action pursuant to seeker, and whereas the Town Board has considered this action, reviewed the full environmental assessment form, the waterfront assessment form, and the consistency review form, thoroughly analyzed any relevant areas of environmental concern associated with this action, and determined that no significant adverse environmental impacts will result from the foregoing action for the subject application. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the town board makes a negative declaration for the purposes of seeker and authorizes the deputy supervisor to sign Part 3 of the EAF, thus concluding its environmental review. Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for Deputy Town Supervisor to sign a professional service contract with Barton & LaJudas PC for a townwide traffic study.
So moved.
Second.
The town board desires a current town-wide traffic study to be conducted to evaluate existing conditions and identify future potential traffic and road improvements. And whereas Bartle and LaJudas PC is the Town of Penfield's traffic consultant for 2023, per resolution number 23T-25, dated on January 4th, 2023. Be it resolved that Bartle and LaJudas PC be authorized to conduct a town-wide traffic study at the request of the town board. And be it further resolved that the deputy supervisor is authorized to sign a contract with Bartle and LaJudas PC as outlining according to the submitted proposal and project scope in amount not to exceed $38,800 for this town-wide traffic study. Thank you. I think it's been quite a number of years since, I don't know, the last time we did, I believe it was 2008 or 9, the last time that we did one. So it's definitely, this town is growing. There is a definite need. We are seeing that. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. The next 2 resolutions.
Yes. Madam Clerk, I would like to amend this 23T-096 and adding that into the Public Works under 23T-95. Can I have a,
Do you mean 90?
I think it's 96,
I'm sorry.
97.
I'm sorry, just say 95, 90, yeah, I'm sorry, under 97, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make, or second that motion.
Thank you. Roll call vote?
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
Thank you.
4 ayes. Okay, so,
97.
Now we go to public,
yep, we're
Move
going
to
to go
Public
straight over
Works.
to Public Works.
Yep.
And we're going to awarding a contract for the construction of a new Veterans Memorial Park restroom.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield desires to construct a new restroom facility along Columbus Crossing, and whereas Senator Samara Brook is providing the town with $205,650 towards the new construction, and whereas the town board has allocated the remaining funds to come from the Recreation Trust Fund for this project, and whereas sealed proposals were sought and duly advertised for the project as outlined within the plans and specifications on file with the Penfield Town Clerk, and whereas on Friday, March 1st, 2023 at 11 a.m., sealed proposals for said project were received, opened, and read publicly by the town clerk, and whereas the bid submitted by Loyal 9 Development was evaluated and was found to be the lowest responsible and responsive bidder for the specified improvements and has met the town's bidding requirements for this project. Now therefore be it resolved that the contract for the above project be and hereby is awarded to Loyal 9 Development for said amount not to exceed $476,323. Be it further resolved that the said award is subject to submission and approval of required insurance, at which time the contractor will be given the notice to proceed with this contract.
Thank you. Any discussion? I should note that this is a long time coming. I think we're all very supportive of this. I know that this, one of the reasons we ended up wanting to put a new restroom in down there is because we had the softball, girls, the Penfield girls softball, we had a petition about looking into, came with us to the town board requesting that the need for having a facility other than a porta potty on their fields down there in the town, here in the town hall complex. So happy to see that this is moving forward for not only for the entire town, but for the Penfield softball players. So thank you. Roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Awarding a construction administration contract for the new Veterans Memorial Park restroom to the MRB Group PC.
So moved. Sorry.
It's okay, so moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield desires to construct a new restroom facility along Columbus Crossing, and whereas the town board has authorized proceeding with the award of the construction contract, that's the resolution we just passed, and whereas MRB Group PC has provided the town with a quote for the construction administration and backflow preventer approvals. Now therefore be it resolved that the construction administration contract for the above project B and hereby is awarded to MRB Group for a total amount not to exceed $39,610.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Awarding the contract for the purchase of LED street light products and materials.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas sealed bids were sought and requested in a manner prescribed by law to furnish the Department of Public Works with a purchase contract that would provide LED streetlight products and materials. Whereas on January 6th at 11 a.m. local, the following sealed bids were received, opened, and read publicly from the following list of suppliers: Bell Electric Supply Company, County Line Electric, and Illuminating Expressions Distributions. And whereas Illuminating Expressions Distributions was the lowest responsible and responsive bidder to meet the expectation and specifications of the bid package for a total cost of $439,846.92. And whereas the town board has allocated up to $450,000 from monies received through the ARPA funds, now therefore be it resolved that a contract be and hereby is awarded to Illuminating Expressions Distributions for said project.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Drawe. Cole.
Yeah.
Aye.
Lee.
Sorry.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Awarding the contract for the installation of LED street light products and materials.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas sealed bids were sought and requested in a manner prescribed by law to furnish the DPW with a service contract that would provide for the installation of LED lights. Whereas on February 24th at 11 a.m., the following sealed bids were received, open, and read publicly from Colosino Industries and Merch Electric Company. And whereas the bid received from Merch Electric Company was the lowest bid and meets the expectation and specifications of the bid package for a total cost of $253,600. Now therefore be it resolved that a contract be and hereby is awarded to Merch Electric to provide the installation of LED streetlights. And this will be this agreement to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to review and approve a right-of-way work permit application at 171 Hill Rise Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the town board discussed a request for a secondary curb cut onto Hillrise Drive for the property located at 171 Hillrise Drive on March 22nd. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes DPW to review and approve the request for a secondary curb cut onto Hillrise for this property.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Advertise for bids to provide maintenance for various properties as required under Article 15-15.10 and Article 7-7.11 of Chapter 250 of the Town Code.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the purpose of Article 15-15.10 and Article 7-7.11 of Chapter 250 of the Town Code is to secure compliance and to protect and preserve property devaluation and to assure the safety, health protection, and general welfare of persons and property in the town of Penfield, and to prevent the gradual encroachment of blight, deterioration, unsightliness, and property devaluation, and to assure the safety, health protection, and general welfare of persons and property in the town of Penfield. And whereas the Building and Zoning Office has the need to secure and maintain properties failing to comply with the minimum requirement of Article 15-15.10 and Article 7-7.11 of Chapter 250 of the Code, now therefore be it resolved that the Building and Zoning Administrator be and hereby is authorized to advertise in a manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals for the securing of properties and for the maintenance and cleanup that have failed to be maintained in accordance with the town code requirements. Be it further resolved that the services covered by such proposals shall be in accordance with the specifications prepared by the Building and Zoning Administrator. Sealed proposals are to be submitted to the office of the Town Clerk until 11 o'clock a.m. local time, Friday, April 14th, 2023, and then and there to be opened by the Town Clerk and read publicly. And I'll just note that the request for proposals is attached to this resolution with all the instructions to potential bidders.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes. Appointment to the Library Board.
So moved.
Second.
Due to a vacancy on the Board of Trustees, the Library Board, a committee was formed to do interviews, and the chosen person to take the position on the Library Board is Jason Becker of 985 Whalen Road, to be appointed to the Penfield Library Board for a term beginning April 18th, 2023, expiring December 31st, 2027.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Drawe.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Thank you. That concludes our resolutions by function. Board, any old business? Board, any new business? Seeing none, our next meeting of the Town Board Legislative meeting will be on April 5th, 2023, right here, starting at 6:30. I hope people are still watching, but I got a note here that there seems to be an awful lot of power out here in Penfield. So the Baird Road community center is on a power generator, and Route 441 to Baird Road 5-mile line are all out. So I hope you all are home safe and sound tonight and with power eventually. So I'm sure we're working on it. So they're working on it for you. So again, thank you for tuning in tonight. And I will call this meeting adjourned at 7:15 p.m. Thank you, and be safe.